Hey guys, this is Bruce of ConvoCourses, and I wanted to talk to you guys while I'm in beautiful sunny Hawaii, Big Island, and tell you about how you can do something like this too. I'm working remotely, teleworking / remote working, whatever you want to call it, from Hawaii. And I'm actually on vacation right now, but just checking, you can check my, quickly check my messages and everything. But the thing I wanted to talk to you guys today about is what are some of the primary things that you need if you are going to actually do remote work. There's a few things that, aside from a good internet connection, that you're going to need from if you're going to work from a different location. Now, I've been all over this island, but mainly have stayed in Hilo and Kona. And of course, I have to go somewhere where there's decent internet. But there's a few things that you should really take into account if you're trying to do remote work. And one of those, dealing with internet, is having more than one internet connection. What I mean is a backup connection. So one of the things that I have is a mobile device that has internet connection. I'll usually have two. One is business, one's personal. So those are actually two different backups. I can use a hotspot and it's fast enough to allow me to do what work I need to do. So always have a backup connection, because you never know. Like, I can go to a hotel like the one I was at in Hilo, actually had excellent internet, but maybe, if, let's say, it just went out or something, I could always just use one of my backups. Always have a backup, because you can't afford to lose your internet connection. So that's one thing. Another thing I would say is have security. Now, there's many different aspects to this, one of which is a VPN. Now, my job actually has its own VPN, so it encrypts all of the data going from point A to point B. From my laptop to the organization, it's all encrypted, so I don't have to worry about that. But if your organization does not have it for whatever reason, you might want to actually invest or have them invest in some sort of a VPN that's encrypting all of the traffic going from point A to point B. That's one thing that you need to have. Another one I would suggest is multi-factor authentication. That's not just a username and password, but a username, password, along with your fingerprints, or takes a picture of your face. Multiple ways to authenticate who you are. So that's another one, the security. Another thing that I don't see a lot of people talking about as far as security is concerned for a remote is making sure you're in a secure environment, especially if you're talking to clients with sensitive information. You don't want to be talking about their IP addresses or their vulnerabilities on their IP addresses, and you're in a public location. Like, I would not talk about my client's information on this balcony where my neighbors over there or somebody golfing can hear me talking about their bank. You know what I mean? That's not cool. So you need to be in a place where only you and the client can hear what's going on, or only, you're not leaking information accidentally to other places. You need physical security of not only your equipment, but of what you're talking about. A little bit of information security, InfoSec. So make sure you have those things with security. Your VPN, a multi-factor authentication optional, and privacy, like to where nobody can hear you talking about client information or proprietary information. So those are a couple things that you really need, and it's kind of related to having physical security and not talking in an open environment, is having a place where it's quiet. That means if there's loud noises going off in the background, you got to do a Zoom call or something. You don't want those loud sounds to take over your meeting, or you can't have a meeting because it's just too loud. You need a quiet space, not only physically protecting your data, so where the information not leaking out and people overhearing your conversations about sensitive information, but also a place where it's quiet enough to where you can actually do the work. And this really applies to any kind of home office environment where, especially if you have little kids and they're running around doing all kind of crazy, you probably want to have like a separate office to where, or the basement or something, where you can close the door and not be interrupted if you have to do some kind of a call, or you have to do very heavily intense work where you have to focus. You need quiet. So those are the main things I would say that you are really going to need if you're considering doing remote work and working virtually, having an office somewhere, or working from places like this. Keep that in mind. You got to make sure you're not doing sensitive information in places like airports, publicly accessible networks. Like here at this place, they have a publicly accessible network, meaning it's not encrypted. It's not, if you're on their network, anyone who has a sniffer can see your data. Like you got to be very conscious of things like that. Starbucks, if you're jumping on their network, if you have VPN, you're encrypted, so you're on their network, but it's encrypting all the data going in and out. Just be very mindful of those main things. One last thing that is very rarely talked about is your company's policies. I'm here in Hawaii. I can literally work from here. My company does not restrict me from working in any state, but if I was to go outside of the country, that would be it'd be a different story. They do have policies on certain countries. They have import-export laws that they have to abide by per federal laws. And your country, if you happen to work in India or UK or Canada or whatever, you got to take into account if your company has to abide by some of those import-export laws, or there are certain state laws that you have to abide by. You can't go outside of this area, this zone, or this nation state or whatever. You got to be mindful of those things. Be mindful of the policies that they have, so that you don't violate those things accidentally and actually lose your job because you didn't pay attention to the policies of the companies. Before you travel, let's say you're already remote. You already know you can remotely work, and that's maybe you do it 24 hours, but 24/7, but you want to go work in Colombia. Well, you got to make sure that you can work in another country. Make sure that there's no violations of the company's policies that might get you fired or worse. So those are the things I would really look out for if you're seriously thinking about doing remote work from anywhere in the world. Just keep those things in mind, and I think you'll be okay. All right, see you on the next one.